Modesto Lodge 206, Free and Accepted Masons of California, our beginning. Like all great adventures, the journey that was to become Masonry in Modesto started somewhere else. It began in Tuolumne City in Stanislaus County. Today, only a stone marker erected by E. Clampus Vietas marks the location of a town that once rivaled the Stockton in commerce and conveniences. The town was located on Tuolumne River, 5 miles from where it joined the San Joaquin River. It was a bustling river port city when there was enough water in the rivers to allow for navigation. The coming of the railroad, the decline in the price of grain, and the end of speculative land profits brought an end to Tuolumne City. Tuolumne City was already in decline when 8 Masons formally met for what was described as a preliminary meeting for the formation of a Masonic Lodge in Tuolumne City. They met in the home of Brother Robert Phillips at 5 p.m. on December 31, 1869. All were known to each other, and they were all members in good standing of nearby lodges. They prepared an application and asked San Joaquin Lodge number 19 to recommend and sponsor their petition to Grand Lodge. The new lodge was to be known as Stanislaus Lodge. A second preliminary meeting on April 16, 1870 was held to announce that San Joaquin Lodge number 19 had agreed to recommend to the Grand Master that Stanislaus Lodge be granted a dispensation to open and hold lodge. The letter of dispensation was read at the first meeting of Stanislaus Lodge under dispensation on May 19, 1870. Septimus Allen Cleveland, Master Stanislaus Lodge 206 was chartered on October 14, 1870. The first petition to receive the degrees of Masonry was read at that May meeting in 1870. The prospect's name was Francis Anthony Gabriel Van Mathenep. He was raised to the sublime degree of Master Mason in October of 1870. More importantly, this first new member's occupation is listed as brewer.
William Henry Hatton, Master, 1885, 1886, 1887, 1894, 1900 and 1901. He was a district inspector and seemed to be a man that just say no. With his wife at their new home near I and 14th Street. The Masonic Halls. At the end of its first year of existence, the Stanislaus Lodge number 206 had doubled in size, but the town of Tuolumne City was fast becoming a ghost town that the Southern Pacific Railroad offered free building lots to any business willing to move to Modesto. The stated meeting of January 11, 1871, a motion was made to move the lodge to the town of Modesto as soon as suitable accommodation could be found. The motion passed unanimously. Stanislaus Lodge number 206 held its first meeting in Modesto on April 6, 1871, in the Odd Fellows Hall at the corner of 11th and H Streets. The meeting time was changed, perhaps to avoid conflicts over the shared space, to the first Thursday following the full moon. On March 11, 1876, the lodge held its first meeting at a new location at 10th and H Streets in Modesto. The Oddfellows had built the new building, and Stanislaus Lodge, lacking resources of their own, could do nothing else than follow them to the new location and continue to rent space for their meetings. This then was the second meeting place in Modesto. In 1881, Worshipful Brother William Grolman erected a building at 804 10th Street and offered the upstairs to Stanislaus Lodge number 206 at the rent of $20 per month. A loan of $1,300 was arranged from Robert McHenry at an interest rate of 1% per month to buy furniture for the new hall. On March 29, 1881, Stanislaus Lodge number 206 hosted the official visit of the Grand Master of California, Most Worshipful Samuel C. Denson, the event was recorded as a gala occasion. A good time was had by all. The lodge was up and running in their third meeting place in Modesto. In 1908, preparations were begun for the construction of a new lodge building on I Street, just east of 10th for Stanislaus Lodge number 206. The estimated cost was estimated at $32,000. After some haggling with the whole association, the rent was set at $15 per month for the third floor of the new building. The first meeting of Stanislaus Lodge number 206 was held on August 28, 1909. The district deputy inspector was present and commented that Stanislaus Lodge had the neatest hall in the valley. The lodge finally had its own building for its fourth meeting place. The Masonic Temple Association, newly incorporated in May of 1917, perhaps because of the passage of the 16th Amendment in 1913, which allowed for income tax, purchased property at the corner of 15th and J Street in Modesto for the constructions of a new Masonic Lodge. The cornerstone of the new Masonic Temple was laid on August 11, 1917, by the Grand Master of Masons in California, Most Worshipful Francis V. Kisling. Royal Archmasons and the elected chapter of Eastern Star were in the attendance. There was great support from the community. People came from all over the city. The city band played appropriate selections, and the choir of elected chapter of Eastern Star sang number after number after number. Stanislaus Lodge number 206 was open for business at its fifth meeting place. On June 5, 1929, another Masonic Lodge was formed in Modesto. The lodge known as Modesto Lodge number 675 shared the meeting place with Stanislaus Lodge number 206 at the corner of 15th and J Streets in Modesto. Stanislaus Lodge had supported the application of the new lodge and recommended that the Grand Master grant a dispensation to Modesto Lodge to open and hold lodge. Modesto Lodge number 675 paid rent to and was represented on the Masonic Temple Association. During the following decades that brought the Great Depressions, World War II, and the post-war boom, both lodges prospered and grew in membership. The lodge building on the 15th and J Street had become small and costly to maintain. Parking was non-existent. The lodge room was on the upper floor and the dining hall was in the basement. The stairs were difficult for some of the older members to negotiate. It was time to start looking for a new facility. Property was found on Rose Avenue in Modesto. The property was not in the commercial district of Modesto, although near downtown. The site was in an area that was being developed for residential housing. It was about 6 acres in size and planted in almond trees. The Masonic Temple Association started to raise money for the purchase of the property and the building of the hall. This was not easy. The city of Modesto did not look kindly on the constructions of a fraternal hall in a residential neighborhood. The two lodges in the Masonic Temple Association had to make many attempts to persuade the city council to approve the project. In the end, thanks in large part to the efforts of our worshipful brother J. Wilmer Jensen, Esquire, who acted as an attorney and representative of the Temple Association before the city council. The approval was granted by one vote. The land was purchased and constructions began. Worshipful Brother Jensen is our oldest living past master. The sister lodges of number 206 and 675 held a community open house on June 30th and July 1st in 1973 to celebrate the opening of new Masonic Temple or seat known today, the Masonic Center of Modesto. The first meeting was held in the new building on Thursday, July 5, 1973. The new hall was very different from the old halls. It was designed to be an event center. The building had only one floor and plenty of parking. It had two large rooms, a dining hall that could seat over 200 people, a library, an office with a walk-in safe for the Masonic Temple Association, a very large and usable kitchen, restrooms, and storage lockers for the concordant bodies. The hall was to be home to two lodges, two chapters of Eastern Star, two battles of Job's Daughters, one chapter of Rainbow Girls, one chapter of Team Malay, the Modesto Shrine Club, the Modesto Scottish Rite Club, the Masonic Luncheon Club, and the Masonic Widows Club. Unfortunately, most of these organizations no longer exist, but over the years, the hall has served Masonry in Modesto very well. The Room of Reflection. Consolidation. Like many lodges in California, Stanislaus 206 and Modesto 675 suffered a decline in membership in the 1980s and 1990s. It became impossible for Modesto Lodge 675 to pay its shares of the rent to the Masonic Center of Modesto. For that and other reasons, the two sister lodges formed a committee to explore the option of consolidation. After votes approving consolidation in both lodges and approval by Grand Lodge, the lodges were consolidated in 2004 as Modesto Lodge 206, Free and Accepted Masons of California. In the early days of Masonry in Modesto, many of the events of the Lodge and other organizations were newsworthy. The annual installation of officers, the attendance of the Grand Master, or other Masonic dignitaries, galas, picnics, and parties all found their way into the local paper and showed Stanislaus Lodge to be a true community organization. Many of the members of the Lodge were active in the development of Modesto. There were assemblymen, county supervisors, and administrators, judges, mayors, city councilmen, sheriffs, and police, and fire chiefs. There were other important Masons, men who work every day to support their families and build the best possible life for them in Modesto. Men who went to lodge, to church, who voted, who attended community meetings, and who tried to help wherever and whenever they could, all the time adhering to the three great tenets of our fraternity: brotherly love, relief, and truth. This is the true legacy of Masonry Modesto. Today, Modesto Lodge 206 is still active in the community. In 2002, the Lodge started a bicycle program to supply 2 bicycles a year to Sylvan Elementary School as an incentive for students to strive for perfect attendance. These lasted only for 2 years, but after a short hiatus, Worshipful Brother Jake Van Hollen resurrected the program and partnered with Alvista Elementary School. Students with perfect attendance and no demerits against them are drawn out of a hat, and the winners receive a bicycle chosen by their parents. Masons from 206 are present, where 2 bicycles are given out at each of 3 assemblies during the year in front of the students, parents, faculty, and staff. Worshipful Jake Van Hollen has single-handedly kept the program for over 15 years.
The helmet and a bike license. All right, do you guys remember that? So they are here today to give one of you lucky scholars a brand new bike. So I'm going to give it to them to announce who the winner was. All right, here we go.
Well, it's nice to see all you kids again. It's been a long time, but I'm back. We need more names in the bucket next time, so kids got to come start doing school. Without further ado, I'll introduce my brothers here. Brother Chuck Rickendorf, Brother Frank Conlon, Americano, and way back we have Paul Colado. So I'll have our next year's Master of the Lodge, Juan Americano, introduce the winner. Name. Juan.
Alright guys, who thinks they're gonna win this? So, it's a really nice bike, huh? Alrighty, y'all ready? Alright, so, the lucky student with perfect attendance who wins this beautiful bike is Yahir Ricardo Lagunas.
In 2019, Worshipful Brother David Simpson started a scholarship program to provide 500 scholarships to graduating seniors from local high schools who are going to college. Applications are distributed to the high schools. The applications are completed and mailed to the lodge. The scholarship committee reviews each application and makes a selection for the awards. The winners are invited to the lodge public schools night for dinner or refreshments, where we often have speakers making presentations about different school programs available in Modesto. One of our most popular speakers is our brother Doug Eusted, an educator in Modesto who always has something interesting to say. During this time of worldwide pandemic, the lodge has not been as active in the community as the members would like. Luckily, Modesto Lodge number 206 has been blessed with 2 outstanding masters. It was Worshipful Brother Romy Demilis who first started recognizing first responders during his year as master in 2020. Small acts of appreciation too, such as going with other brothers of the lodge and dropping off pizzas and snacks at hospitals for the emergency room staff. Worshipful Marshall Gullum continued this tradition in 2021 and expanded it to include the Modesto Police and Sheriff's Departments. This has had the double effect of showing the MPD and the Sheriff's Office support for their efforts during the pandemic, but also in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd and others.
You must have taken another walk back. Oh, it's over somewhere then. Oh, it's right there. It's here. So when we meet for the lodge, we walk over here. It's just not. It's not good for your diet. It's not good for your diet. You don't get it. The fun sits in the not good for your diet.
Yeah.
And the other guy, Marshall, would be coming in.
Patients now, they're just about usually like about 12 or 14 patients now. So about 6 patients are COVID positive.
You can go in protesting. How busy?
I was wondering what you were going to do with an officer outside. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously we're surrounded outside.
And also the group chief. So Mike, Rick, a couple more marshals. So I think they wanted to present you a plaque and take grade. You guys are feeding graveyard tonight, so thank you. The graveyard shift's going to eat. Usually they skip.
Right.
This is actually pretty good. The graveyard might skip today.
Yeah.
So we'll take this over for our graveyard crew.
Yeah.
There's one.
Graveyard always gets the worst of it. I had graveyard for 30 years.
We get a lot of food that gets brought around here.
And actually, we're here because we believe in your commitment. And also, we're here because we are showing our support and appreciation to all the things that you did to our community, more particularly in Modesto area. So I'm presenting this to Modesto Police Department with great honor and recognition for the commendable and dedicated service to our community. Issued month of June, year 2020, from Free and Accepted Nations of California, Modesto Lodge number 206.
Appreciate it. Times like these, it's easy for our officers to get discouraged and a lot of things going on around the nation. But it's gestures like this that are good to remind the officers that they have a ton of community support. The chief and I and Steve, being administrators, not real cops anymore, we go to meetings and we see a lot of people that support the police department, support what we do. But the guys out on the street don't always see that. So being able to provide them some food and let them know it's from you guys and the community. Really means a big deal to them because it shows that community support. So we really appreciate the plaque and we appreciate the food and thank you guys for your support because it does mean a lot to the officers and we know it, but they don't always feel it. So this will help. So thank you very much.
I'm going to see if Sheriff. Tell them we have a really nice parking lot behind our lodge and you're more than welcome to go back here and ride reports.
Absolutely. We're always looking for good spots.
Well, then we do undercover. There you go, Sheriff.
Modesto Lodge 206, Val Lodge 135, saluting all our frontliners and essential workers. We want to take a moment to thank all our dedicated frontliners and essential workers for your service and sacrifice in keeping our community safe and functioning. We see you and we appreciate you.
Ito na si Lagalag. Can we have a picture or? Punta kayo doon, oh.
Today and every day, we say a prayer for the men and women in uniform who protect us daily. We pray for your safe return at the end of each and every shift.
Myself still work in the hospital. I know how hard you guys work. I know January we were slammed. We're bagging bodies like 5. I've never seen that many deaths in my whole nursing career. And I called one time here, and Brother Tom was the one who answered, and I didn't even know. It was like, Tom, like, can I have your last name? Really? I was like, hey, Brother Tom? Like, Brother Marshall. Basically, he was one of the dispatch. So basically, it's just, you know, showing appreciation to all the hard work you guys did during this pandemic, and hopefully it'll be over soon.
Yeah. Hopefully. Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you. That means a lot.
The Lodge is always open to ways to help the community of which we are a part. With 208 members, the Modesto Lodge has many ideas on how to help. No discussion of Stanislaus Lodge would be complete without mentioning the Acacia Memorial Park Association of Modesto, Inc. Acacia was started in 1872 with the purchase of 5 acres for a graveyard by Stanislaus Lodge number 206. The cemetery was known as the Masonic Cemetery and was the cause for much discussion, derision, charges, and other counter-charges among the members of the lodge. The cemetery was finally set up separately from the lodge when it was incorporated as the Masonic Cemetery Association of Modesto on September 16, 1917. It has remained separate and distinct from the lodge ever since. In the 1960s, Grand Lodge adamantly demanded that the cemetery not use any word referring to masonry in its name so that it did not even give the appearance of having a relationship to Grand Lodge. The name was changed to Acacia Memorial Park Association of Modesto in compliance with the Grand Lodge's demand. The Dark Side. Modesto was created by the Southern Pacific Railroad to help populate the Central Valley of California with customers and the loading point for grain and other produce for shipment to the ports in San Francisco and Stockton. The primary crop in those first days was wheat. The wheat farms hired farmhands. The farmhands liked to have a good time when they came to town and were willing to spend their money at the many saloons, gambling houses, opium dens, and brothels along Front Street. The gambling interest was so entrenched in Modesto that it controlled the city government and had the local constabulary in their pocket. Laws were not being enforced and no one felt safe. The stable element in town said enough. They formed the Vigilantes and on the night of August 14, 1879, took things into their own hands. Many masked men, well organized and armed with guns and swords, stood out in front of each offending business. The captain of the Vigilantes demanded to speak with the owner and told him to get out of town in 24 hours. All complied. The town remained safe for several months. In 1884, the Vigilantes, now called the San Joaquin Regulators, cleaned out the town again. Were some of the Vigilantes members of Stanislaus Lodge number 206? Most certainly. Some were oddfellows and some were just concerned citizens. Who knows? All were anonymous. This is not something that would be recorded in the minutes of the lodge. For the future. To paraphrase, 100 years of masonry in California. Undoubtedly, the reason for the success of Modesto Lodge number 206 over the past 151 years is the caliber of its masters, officers, and members who actively participated in their lodge and led it through good times and bad. There is no reason to expect that this will change. The next 151 years will be a challenge, but it will be interesting. Meeting those challenges head-on with the strength of the fraternity, supporting each and every one of us, is what makes us a Mason.